Hindsight is 20/20, and in this video I'm going to show you 5 things that I might do differently if I had a chance to do the tiny cabin all again. Stick around, you might be surprised to hear what they are. So number 1 on the list is the Wallboard. This is a hardboard that I bought. It's just an 1/8 inch hardboard with one side painted white already. I bought it because it was $11 a sheet, which is super cheap, and it covered a huge area and it was already painted. I didn't have to do any drywalling or any painting of wood afterwards or anything like that. And I thought that was going to be a pretty good solution. I wanted it white because it's a small space and I wanted it to be nice and bright in here. And so I thought, man, that's just going to be a quick solution to getting the wall board up and having it look finished real quick. And it was. It worked great. It went up fast, easy, and it did look good for a little while. The problem I have with it is that it does tend to stain. I don't know what they painted it with, but it's not a terribly durable thing. If you know hardboard, you know if it gets a little bit wet, it's basically just cardboard, you know, and it swells if it gets wet and it does all sorts of things. So there's a bunch of spots in the cabin now where we have damaged the wallboard. Up by the fireplace is a good example where we cook. And so grease will splatter onto the wall a little bit behind it, as grease tends to do. And that has stained the wall with sort of a greasy kind of a, you know, stain on it. There's a number of spots where we have, you know, bumped the wall and it's gotten a gouge in the wall. Normally on a normal wall you would just, you know, grab a little touch-up paint and paint it, but I don't know what color this is and it doesn't really paint over very well. And so all those blemishes in the walls tend to just stick around. There's another spot where the old lanterns used to be before we had electricity in here, and you know, the soot from the lantern has stained the wallboard on the roof quite badly. And so it's difficult to wash, it's difficult to clean, and it's not nearly as durable and as washable as I was hoping it would have been. So what would I do differently? What would I replace it with? Well, I think I would probably go with just a shiplap pine board of some sort and then paint that. Again, that would solve the problem of it staining and of it chipping, and even if it did get chipped or bumped, it would look more natural. It would have more of a rustic sort of a feel as opposed to our wallboard, which just looks stained and greasy and kind of gross. So I think it'll be alright for the time being, but eventually, maybe someday, we'll tear it all out and put in shiplap, but no time soon. But there's the first maybe regret that I would have about the tiny cabin, and something I might change if I did it all again. The shiplap we used in the bathroom and also a little bit in the kitchen tends to be a much nicer sort of a finish. And that's probably, you know, the kind of thing you can see. I mean, when it gets a ding or a blemish in it, it just looks natural and it looks kind of nice, actually, you know, kind of adds to the rustic feel of it. But the wallboard tends to not look so good when it gets blemished. The next maybe regret I have is the windows. These windows all came for free from online classifieds, and you know, they are leaky. We get a lot of cold air coming in through them, and we get a lot of warm air escaping out of them. Some of them are single pane, some of them are double pane, but either way, they were taken out of somebody's house for a reason. So if I was going to do it again, I might try and come up with the money to buy some good quality windows. Now that said, we do have a lot of windows in here. Again, I wanted it to be bright in this small space, so the white walls, and I wanted big windows. But in our climate, we do lose a lot of heat through the windows in the winter time. And so it would be a substantial investment in order to get these windows replaced with high quality argon glass and all the newest, fanciest kind of window stuff. So it's a tough one for me because I do regret not having better windows in here in the winter time. You know, for the cost, for the investment, it would have increased the cost of the cabin substantially. So it's on the list because I would like to have better windows in here, but honestly, I don't know if I was going to do it all again if I would actually put the investment into new windows, but new windows would be nice. The next two items on the short list of regrets for the tiny cabin both have to do with the loft. First, the loft height. Underneath the loft, we've got a good 7 or 8 feet probably, 7.5 feet I guess, of space between the loft and the floor. I feel like we could have dropped the loft another foot maybe, so that the bottom of these beams were about 6.5 feet high. So there'd still be plenty of room to walk underneath them, but that we would have gained another foot of space up here in the loft. That would have allowed for just a little bit more space up here, which for the boys it's not too much of a problem, but it would have probably been a better use of space to drop this just a little bit and leave just a little bit more room up here. The other regret I have around the loft is the depth of the loft. When I first started looking at D. Williams' tiny house, what I really liked about it is that the loft actually extended beyond the main floor of the cabin and over the deck by that 4 feet. Now, I didn't trust my carpentry skills in the end, and I didn't think that I could do a good enough job extending that over the deck, and didn't trust that I could do it, and so I didn't end up doing that. I ended up just cutting it off right at the front of the cabin where the rest of it was. In hindsight, I think I probably could have done it. I think if I had taken the time and just done a little bit more research, I probably could have had that extra 4 feet in the loft, and that would have been a huge amount of extra space up there that would have been really nice to have, especially when the boys are bickering or fighting about, you know, that's my side of the bed or whatever. It would be nice to have the extra 4 feet then for sure. So, in hindsight, if I was doing it again, I would definitely add the extra 4 feet on the front of the loft over the deck in the front. And speaking of the deck, that brings us to the fifth and final minor regret of the tiny cabin. The deck extends 4 feet out in front of the cabin. I wish that was bigger. I really do. And I wish I had had the foresight to make it bigger all the way around the one side of the cabin and another 4 feet or 6 feet even off the side of the cabin so that we could have screened that in. We do get a lot of bugs in the summertime, and man, would it be just an awesome thing to have a screened in room all the way around it. Now at this point, it's more of a might do it someday than a regret, because it's certainly still possible to do that. So we may end up doing that at some point. We'll see. Honestly, we've got this whole space to sit in and lounge in and enjoy. So needing a deck, nah, not necessarily, but you know, when the bugs are bad or that sort of thing, it would be nice to have a screened in porch all the way around it. So it might be something that we consider doing one day. Well, that's about it, folks. 5 small regrets about the tiny cabin. Nothing I can't live with. You know, we did a lot of planning ahead of time, and I think I got it pretty much the way I wanted it. But it may surprise you which 5 things we chose and which 5 things we didn't choose. But there it is, our 5 little regrets. So maybe if you're doing your planning, it'll help you make some decisions and get yours right the first time. So thanks for joining us once again, and we'll see you on the next one.